Hi everyone, we're going to get started with today's webinar. My name is Kira and I'd like to welcome David Huang, who's going to be walking you through the 5 benefits Dynamics GP users will get from using Power BI. And so without further ado, I'll let David get started.
Thanks, Kira. Welcome everyone to the webinar. We're going to be talking about the 5 benefits GP users will get from using Power BI. Just to let everyone know, the presentation is being recorded and it'll be sent to you either this week or next week. If you have any questions as we're going through the webinar, do send them in via the webinar panel. We have some Q&A time dedicated towards the end, but I may answer them throughout as we go as well. So a little about me. My name is David Huang. I'm one of the business solutions consultants here at Corporate Renaissance Group. I work for the corporate performance management team, which includes our BI practice. So we help organizations with their analytics, business intelligence, and visualizations. And we implement Power BI as well as Tableau and Board for those solutions. With the agenda today, I have a few slides to introduce and summarize what we do as a company. And then we'll get right into it, talk about the 5 benefits. Most of the webinar will be spent in the Power BI platform as a demo, and we have some Q&A time dedicated at the end. I don't anticipate this will take the full hour, but we'll see how it goes, we'll probably just leave extra time for questions. Corporate Renaissance Group, we are headquartered in Ottawa, Canada. We started business in 1989 and have been profitable ever since. And our success stems from the wide range of skills that our consultants have, both from the business side and technical side. We specialize in Microsoft products, so we've been a Microsoft Gold partner for over 25 years. But in addition to those, if you'll see on the right of the slide, we have more than just Microsoft products. So from ERP systems, we do Dynamics, we also do Power BI, Power Apps, SharePoint. But we also have implement products where we find Microsoft products don't quite fill the gap. So that would include some budgeting and planning tools like Board, Adaptive Insights, Rapid Start, and also human capital solutions. We specialize in talent. We have our own product, mPerform, and we have some other custom applications as well. So we do end-to-end business transformation. We have expertise kind of all across different areas in the spectrum. And in terms of technology, we also do custom development for any specialized needs that your company may have. So I won't beat around the bush and get right into it. The top 5 benefits for using Power BI for GP. 1, you can pull multiple data sources into one view. So that would mean if you have spreadsheet data, if you have data in your CRM or any other platforms that you use, you can pull all of that data into Power BI and have a dashboard that visualizes the data from different sources. 2, no specialized technical support is required. So Power BI was designed for the end user. Not to say that IT and analysts don't have a role, but the tool is built to be easy to use. The interface is a white canvas and you drag and drop objects onto the screen, but it's meant for the end users to have access to their data and build the reports that they need. 3, you can create personal dashboards relevant to you. So usually with every platform, you have your out-of-the-box canned reports. The benefit of Power BI is where those reports are not enough, you can build dashboards relevant to what you want to see. 4 is you're able to interact with your data, and the demo will illustrate this better later on. But for some static reports, it's a report, and you'll have some filters, but you won't be able to quite interact with it, as I say. And I'll show you what I mean by that later on. And 5, you can share and collaborate with others, meaning you can, after you build your reports, you can publish them, you can share them, you can set security on who can see what. So we'll come back and revisit this, but for now I'd like to get right into Power BI and give a demonstration of how you can connect to GP and what you can do with it. So I'll start by opening the Power BI desktop. For those that are not familiar, this is the report authoring tool, which you can download for free. And this, there's 2 versions of the tool. You can log into Office 365 and access the Power BI application from there, or you can use this tool, which has more functionality in it in terms of designing and building your reports. So starting from a new report, I'll click on Get Data. And I have a few different options here. In terms of GP, I have a few different ways to connect. I can connect directly to the SQL Server database. I can connect via OData, or I can connect to a published data set that's already, that somebody else has published to Power BI. So the option that you go with will kind of depend on what kind of access you need, what your IT department prefers, and pretty much what kind of access works best for you. So in my case, I'm going to connect directly to the SQL Server database. And I know my server is ERP 2016. So this is a part where your IT department will likely get involved in making sure you have access to your data. For me, as an admin user, I have unrestricted access. So in my case, I have various different data sets. The one I'm going to go into is this one here. And as I expand, you'll see that I have a wide, very large list of different database tables that I can connect to. So what comes in handy here is online, there's a lot of resources available in terms of tables. I'll pull this one up here. This is a reference guide that can be found on the GPUG, which is the online community, user community for GP. If you just search for GP tables, there's a lot of different resources out there that act as a reference guide for which tables you want to connect to. But I find the dynamic GP views are all you need. For one, the advantage of these is they come out of the box. So with SQL Server installed, you should have access, or these should be available. And also the column names are already renamed to something intuitive, which we'll see in a second. So you can see we have a wide variety of views, whether it's financial, sales, manufacturing, vendor, and so on. So back to Power BI. For this demo, I will build a financial related report. So I'll pull in more of the financial views, which include accounts, accounts and account transactions. On the right, we can see a preview of the data that's in there. You can scroll and double check that. And I'm going to click on Transform Data just to take a look at what that data looks like. So I've connected to an on-premise GP server. If your GP is hosted on the cloud, you can have access to that too. So back when we went to get data, we can see that there's also options for Dynamics 365 or Azure. So that would include if you're on Business Central or 365 or NAV, you have those connectors as well. Also, you can connect to an Azure SQL database. So we can see here, Power BI has built with two queries. One is to the accounts table. So this has information about my chart of accounts. So you can see I have an account number with a description, the posting type, the account category. Actually, there's too much information here, way more than I need. So what I'll do is just keep this clean and select just what I need, which are these. And I will remove the other column. So now I have a clean account master as one, and then my transactions are stored in another table. So we'll see here all of the journal entries with the transaction date. Again, there's probably more information that's on here than I need. So I am going to just select up to here. And so I mentioned being able to pull from different sources. Now, I've pulled two tables from my GTEEB database, but I may have some data in an Excel file. So examples, maybe if you have budget numbers stored in an Excel file, which is common. If you have commentary or anything, that's available. So I can create a query to connect my Excel file as well. Going to go to New Source, go to Excel. And for this demo, I've just created a very simple Excel spreadsheet, nothing too complicated in there. I just have for each year, I have some comments and a head count, average head count. I'm going to pull that, select that, and pull that as a data source as well. And again, it doesn't have to be an Excel spreadsheet. You can connect to your CRM or any other tools out there. So if I'm finished with this, I can click Close and Apply. And right now, we're looking at my white canvas here before I've built any reports. And my data sources should be showing on the right very shortly once that's loaded in. So those have loaded, and you'll see here I have my account master, my account transactions, and sheet 1 is my Excel spreadsheet. I can rename these. And before building any reports, let's take a look at the relationships. So these initially are loaded in as separate data sources, but in order for Power BI to understand how they're related, we need to establish that. So if I click on the relationships icon over here, you can see that Power BI has actually already created some relationships for me, and that is just based on analyzing the data. It can predict on what you think they'll need. So you can see if I highlight over that, it recognizes that my account master has an account number, and my account transaction has an account number as well. So what my account master here is for is I have a posting type, which is not stored in my account transaction. So if I ever wanted to filter by posting type, that would be available to me in this data set. And I need to, in my spreadsheet, I have a column for the year. So I do need to establish a relationship between the transaction date and the year if I ever wanted to pull those together in one view. So I would drag the transaction date over here, and it's created a relationship between those two data sources. And I just double click on here to see if it was done correctly. Looks like it didn't quite get it correctly. I have to select the fields that they wanted, I want to create a relationship. So that would be transaction date and year. We can see here the date formats are a little bit different, so that I might have to correct that. So to start, and I'm going to make them cross filter for both. So that's probably the hardest part. But setting up your data sources are the hardest part, I would say. And you might you might have an analyst do that work for you. But this is meant, as I mentioned, benefit number 2 is meant as a tool for the end user. So we'll see here how what's required to create my own report. So let me start by we can see my data fields. I have account numbers and credit and debit amounts here. I can also create my custom measures. So perhaps I want the net balance of my debits and credits. So I'm going to right click and click new measure. And my measure is going to be called net balance in this case. And Power BI uses a language called DAX, which is similar to Excel formulas, but a little more complex. You can create more advanced calculations than you can in Excel. But for the most part, this is fairly intuitive to use. If you ever require it, if you have all of the measures that you need in your data set, you may not need to create your own measures. But in this case, the net balance of my debits and credits is missing, so I'm going to create that. And net balance will be defined as the sum of my debits minus the sum of my credits. I think I missed a parentheses in there. Let's drag on that onto the report and see what we get. Probably a big number. I don't have anything on here on the axis yet, but I do have a transaction date field, so I'm going to drag that on the axis. And so one thing I have to do is Power BI right now is not recognizing this as a date. Otherwise, the icon for it would be different. So I'm going to make sure that it selects the date, not date and time. And make sure that so it's not going to go back to my query editor to see how the data is coming through. So in my account transactions, here's my transaction date, and it is a date and time. You can see all the time is at 12 a.m. So really, I only have the date here, not necessarily the time. So I'm going to make that update. And view this as a table. Not sure what's going on here. Okay. On my spreadsheet, let's take a look at what I have in my spreadsheet data. I'll drag over my average number of employees. Here. So I'll have here an average headcount by year. So pretty easy. So this comes to creating personal dashboards relevant to you. In GP, you will have your out-of-the-box reports, which actually do use Power BI as the engine. But you're not able to, if you ever need to customize your reports, you would need to design those yourself in Power BI, which is what I'm doing here. Drag some other fields in here. I have my account numbers, my credits, and my debits. Let's see if I can pull the date in. There we go. And so once I've dragged, it's quite easy for me to change the visualization that I'm looking at. By default, in this case, Power BI created a bar graph for me, but I can change that into a pie chart with a click of a button, or a horizontal chart. And you may have to move around what's on the axis and so on to customize the view. But for the most part, with designing my visualizations are just a matter of dragging and dropping and simple clicks. So let's see if I can convert this into a bar chart. I don't want my category number in here. And here we are. So I believe my data set only has data for 2024. Now, I may not want to see all of the years all at a certain time, so I do have the transaction date that I can drag in here and set that as a slicer. So if I only wanted to limit the range over to that, I'm able to do that. I also had the comments field in my spreadsheet. I can drag that onto here as well. So we can see here by the year, I have some comments, and based on my slicer selection, all of the visualizations update here. So this is what I mean by interacting with your data. So different from your CAN reports, if I click on a certain visualization, 2026, you can see that the rest of the visualizations on here update. So this would be especially useful if you see a certain trend, let's say for a certain year, and then you wanted to get more information on that particular year. You can select it to update all your other data, or you could drill down. So let's say if I'm in 2026 and by default, it can recognize time as a hierarchy, so I can drill down into my quarters and even further down into my month and days. So depending on your data set, if you have my data set is a little bit simplified, so it's only showing data for January. And this is all customizable as well. If I did not want visualizations to interact with each other, I can go into the format dropdown, click on edit interactions, and I can say that if I didn't want this visualizations to update my table over here, I can control whether it either filters this visualization or does nothing. So now that I've said to do nothing, these visualizations are now independent, and whatever I do here will not affect my visualization up there. And of course, you can always build filters. So when it comes to building specialized reports, we can say that this is going to be a personnel expense related report. And depending on what data I have access to, in this case, I have data to everything, but I wanted to restrict this report to only show a salaries expense. So I can apply filters on that. So the other benefit, of course, is after building your reports, you're able to publish them and share them with other users with different security. So once I've created my Power BI report, let's say I've created my payroll expense report in this case, Power BI supports row-level security. So going back into my data set, as an example, every single row of data I can restrict access to. So whether it's by date, by the account number, or by, let's say, the series, I can dedicate someone access only to have access to either 2024 data or only the payroll series, or even only certain account categories as well. So a lot of flexibility when it comes to security. How I would set that up is under modeling, I can manage different roles. So if I wanted to create, let's say this is a payroll report, I can say that I want to filter the account transactions to only show me data for payroll. And I'll save that. So what I've done is set up a role, and I'll show how that applies later. But for now, I'm going to first publish this report after it's saved. So I'm going to call this just webinar 2018-1008. It's going to ask me for which workspace to publish it to. So you can have a different workspace with different access. So for example, if you had an HR team, you could have a workspace for HR where you dump all of your HR reports. If they're specific to your accounts payable, you can even have that more detailed and have an accounts payable workspace. So there's two different aspects when it comes to sharing and security. One is the workspace controls access to the specific report and the other aspect is the roles, which I just shown, which controls your access to what data that they're actually seeing when you open that report. So I published that to the online Power BI service, and I'm going to log in just to see how that looks like on the other end. Sign into Power BI, and I have published that to the demos workspace. And you can see the report that I just published is listed here. Now, when it comes to workspaces, you can control the access. So if I click on here and I go into members, I can see all of the people that have access to and would see the same reports that I see in here. This is a demo workspace, so I only have myself in here. But you can see that I can add other, if I click on members, I can add members. Going back to the report, the other aspect of this is even though if your users have access to the workspace, you can differentiate among the actual data that they see. So as we created a role earlier, we can go into more options, go into data sets, and set the security at this level. And you can see that I created the payroll role earlier, and here I can designate which users are have access to that payroll role. So in this case, I can add myself. So a lot of flexibility when it comes to sharing and security, both from the data side and in terms of the report, how that was designed and how that was built. So that was our demo. Just to revisit the kind of 5 benefits that we talked about. For one, I had showed that we were able to pull data sources into one view. So that was the initial step where we get our data, we can select a SQL Server database, we can, your data is on the cloud, we can select Azure or other cloud connectors, we can connect to spreadsheets, which I had done. No specialized technical support required, meaning the tool it's an end user tool. It might get a little bit complicated in terms of getting access to the data, but once you have access to your data, building a report is pretty much a click and drag and drop and clicking interface to build them. And the advantage is every user can create their dashboards and reports that are relevant to you. So whereas I built a report in about 5 minutes, all the users with access to Power BI can build their own reports that are relevant to them. You can interact with your data, so you have more flexibility when it comes to reporting, more than just filters. You can click, you can drill down, you can drill through into other pages. So the functionality in terms of using your reports is widely expanded to your canned reports. And after you've built reports, you can share and collaborate with others. As now in our modern workplace, we kind of want our data on the fly and we want to collaboratively work on things together. I can pull these reports into a meeting room and everyone will have access looking at the same reports with the same data sources. So I hope that you enjoyed the webinar and gave you a good idea of how you can potentially use Power BI for GP. And we have quite a bit of time for any questions. So if you do have questions, please enter them in the webinar panel, and I'll have those answered in the next 5 to 10 minutes. All right, so we have one question here asking about licensing. So what you saw today was you can actually do with the free license. So in terms of downloading the Power BI desktop software that I had shown, that is all free. Where you will need a professional license, which costs $13 per user, is more when you get into sharing and security. So when I show in setting up roles and setting up different access to different reports, that will require pro licenses. But the cost is $13 per user per month. But in terms of building your own reports minus the sharing, you can just download Power BI Desktop, same as I did, and build your own reports right off the bat. If you have any other questions, feel free to type them into the box here in the webinar panel. If there's a question asking more about the clarity of security. So I had set up, just to clarify about the security, I had set up one role, but I can have more than one. So if I go back into Power BI, I could have a role for payroll, and maybe I can have a specific for benefits. So again, Power BI supports role-level security. So in my payroll, where I had specified they can only have access to where the series is payroll, I can do the same with across any different columns in my data. So just as an example, if I want, I can restrict people on the transaction dates, category, or even down to the account number. So it depends on your data. I'm using kind of payroll expense, financial expenses data for my data set, but if you have sales data, you can have a role for maybe for your area managers, west, north, east. You can also set data for if you're into accounts payables, you can set restrictions on the customer. So pretty flexible. It's all within your control. You just have to indicate which field you want to set restrictions on, and then define the formula. Okay, so if there are no other questions, we'll end the webinar early. I'll give you back to 20 minutes of extra time. I thank everyone that stayed and attended the webinar. If you have any other questions that come up after this, feel free to email us or contact us by phone. The email is here in the slide. We'll also follow up and send you the recording, and you can also connect with us with the follow-up email as well. So once again, thanks everyone for the time, and I hope this has been helpful for you.